we're always talking so much about the coronavirus, what might be, what could be. I'd like to delve into some other things since you're an expert. And one thing that I'd like from your perspective is you watched it. When Bob Stoops, so impressed with what he did in the time that A&M was in, obviously, in the Big 12, able to watch that, and then see Lincoln Riley come in and what he's been able to do. Did you see Lincoln Riley having this kind of success? And is he a guy that's always going to be at Oklahoma, or do you see him maybe going on to the pros, or just, what do you think about the Lincoln Riley regime, how he was able to follow Bob Stoops? Because a lot of people say you can't have success after somebody like that.
Well, that is something that's interesting, because typically when somebody like that leaves, it sometimes is 2 or 3 hires later before you're able to recreate that kind of success. I think Lincoln Riley is slightly overrated, but I say that given that people rate him so high that he's gotten to the playoff, in his first couple of years, and he's done a really good job, but he hasn't won a playoff game yet. So I think he's awesome, but I think sometimes, he's slightly overrated, especially locally. We tend to, you always tend to overrate the people that you're around all the time. I think
Sure.
there was a thought that he would have some of the success that he's had because Bob Stoops left a pretty ready-made situation for him to have that kind of success. And he's done a good job with that. And he's obviously, so out there in terms of a guy, of an offensive mind and a person who's able to, to build people. And just the fact that, and this is an unpopular opinion here too, I don't think Jalen Hurts is that good. And so I think he did a great job of taking what Jalen Hurts does well and exploiting it, and what he doesn't do well and hiding it. I think he's really, really good at that. There's one thing about Lincoln Riley that is opposite of what I think about his future. By most accounts, Lincoln Riley loves to recruit. And sometimes I make the joke, I think he's almost, I guess, like Nick Saban, where the games get in the way of recruiting. Like, I wish we didn't have to play that game so we could actually go recruit somebody. And so sometimes I think he's so into recruiting that we miss the point that we're trying to actually win the games. But that goes opposite to what I feel like is I sort of feel like Lincoln Riley is a guy who will eventually want to test himself in the NFL. I feel like, I think he doesn't seem, I don't think, he surely doesn't have a bigger ego than your average coach. I think he's probably more humble and a little more reserved even than your average, big-time college football coach, maybe because he, came from Muleshoe and he's, a small-town guy. And so he does still have some small-town sensibilities. I just kind of think that as much of an offensive guru as he is seen to be, that at some point he's going to want to test himself out at the highest level. And just like we were talking about, right now at this moment, who's the best football coach in the world? Bill Belichick is. Nick Saban is right there, but people still are going to tell you that Bill Belichick is the guy because he's the guy that's doing it at the highest level. And so, I just feel like that that he's going to want to test that at some point. But no one's told me that or anything. That's just kind of the impression I get just from watching.